Hi, Kaylee.
Hey, Coach, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you, Kaylee.
All right, great. We'll get started with questions, and John will have our first question.
Hey, Sean, how are you doing?
Good, John. How you doing?
Good, good. I'm sure it's been challenging, but what have the past, I guess, 48 hours since the end of the game been like emotionally for you?
Yeah, probably like you'd expect. I've hurt, and listen, I'm human, like the rest of our staff is human, and everybody out there, and it's been tough. When you look at, and it's been disappointing. In particular, those the last part of the game, and it's an area, those 13 seconds in particular, that we pride ourselves in being detailed and prepared, and that's an area situational football is that we practice almost daily here, and we typically handle very well. And but it's something that we all have to face. We're not going to run from it, and learn from it. And hopefully one day, as we look back, one day it'll be a part of our story, and we'll be accomplishing the goals that we have as an organization, and that'll be a part of our story. And somewhere along the lines, that'll help us. And right now, it's hard. But I'm extremely proud of this team. I'm extremely proud of what we have accomplished and what we've done. And I believe that we're going to face it and learn from it.
You mentioned the 13 seconds. I know fans, everyone in your building has probably gone through the scenarios a million times since. From a, I guess, revisionist standpoint, are there things that you wish you did differently?
Yeah, our execution, I wish was different. Just like I
Thanks,
said
Sean.
after the game, John, I wish our execution was different.
Thanks, Sean. I appreciate you all year, man. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, appreciate you.
Hey, Sean, good to see you. I just wanted to ask you about, big picture things. Yesterday, Josh had talked about if Brian Daboll were to leave for a head coaching job, he said something to, I'm paraphrasing, but something to the extent of like he liked to have a say in who replaces him, but at the same time acknowledges that it's not his decision, and then spoke very highly of Ken Dorsey. How much do you weigh Josh's opinion and input when making those decisions if it were to come down to that and Daboll were to leave?
Yeah, Josh and I communicate on a lot of things. We spoke yesterday about some of what you're discussing here, Heather, and he will be in the loop and he will be communicated with, and certainly value Josh's opinion on things, and it's important that he's comfortable as well. So no decision will be made without Josh being looped in.
And then just, looking at Josh, and it seems like every year when we have these end of the season Zoom calls or press conferences with you, the topic of, Josh's development comes up and what does he need to do to take that next step? But looking at this season, I mean, what more is there for him to do? And I guess just what did he show to you this year after everything that he was able to accomplish?
Yeah, tremendous. Another step in his growth, right, this year, or several steps, I should say. There were some, I'm sure, questions remaining for people, and I think that he's answered all of those questions. In my mind, he has, at least. And, you're always looking as an organization to find a quarterback that you say, hey, you've got him, and he can do it. And take your team to the highest level. And I believe, without a shadow of a doubt, Josh Allen has answered all of those questions.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate you all season, and enjoy the off season. Thank you.
Thanks. Same, Heather.
Hey, Sean, as you begin to reflect on this season, what were some promising areas in your mind, and how do you think the team can build off those as they head into the off season?
Yeah, a lot of positives, Maddie, a lot of positives. And, we've come a long way as an organization. I'm super proud of what we not just the players on the field, the coaches on the field, but we as an entire organization have accomplished. Off the field, on the field. On the field, obviously, the results are what they've been. It's two AFC East back-to-back, division championships, and 3 10-win seasons in a row, 4 out of the 5 years in the playoffs. I mean, those are all the things that we've seen on the field, but so much more in addition to that has happened off the field with, I know what we've done in the community and where we're going as an organization, the direction of the organization. And our fans have done a tremendous job of sticking with us, and we certainly appreciate their support. Seeing so many fans turn out with us, for us at the airport the other night, or the other morning, I should say, was tremendous. And this is a unique place. And I'm proud to say I'm a part of it. And, Buffalo is a winning organization. And I'm glad to say it's back in that realm again.
And the offense finished the season on fire, especially in the playoffs with the points that they were putting up. So what are some of the conversations you had with some of the guys on offense about how they can almost bottle that up and take it into the offseason and then bring it back for next year, just with how successful they were towards the end of the season?
Yeah, and I believe a lot of it went through Josh, Maddie, as was asked earlier from Heather. I mean, his leadership, his day-to-day approach, his maturation off the field, just in terms of his leadership and his influence on this football team. And as you saw, Josh was playing at an elite level down the stretch in particular on a consistent basis as well. And so that'll be important for us and for our offense and the entire group of our offense moving forward next season.
Thanks, Sean. Enjoy the offseason.
Thanks, Matt.
Good morning, Sean. John Wall here.
Hi, John.
John, yeah, how you doing? Is there anything? I mean, as much as this hurts the team and yourself and the players, is there anything that you can take out of being part of a game that's already being considered one of the most compelling in NFL history?
Yeah, I mean, you're when you're a good football team and you're a winning organization, you're around games like that. It just depends on how many each year you're going to be around or in, and you obviously want to win those tug of wars, if you will, right? So we're disappointed for that, and it hurts, and it's going to hurt for some time, and it'll be something I never forget. But again, I think if we all face it the right way and we carry it with us and learn from it, like, this will be part of our story, and we'll eventually get to where we're trying to get to as an organization, what our ultimate goal is, and that's why we're here. And I want that for our fans, and we're going to continue to work tirelessly to accomplish that. So that's going to remain unchanged. And, but I'm super proud of being in games like that. We were toe-to-toe with the defending AFC champ 2 years running now, and they got a really good football team. They're well coached. They have good players. But we're right there. And, we'll see what comes out this weekend in the AFC championship game. But look where we were a year ago against Kansas City and look where we were this year. And that's a little bit of a measuring stick, but at the end of the day, we want to win those games, and we expect to win those games.
On the flip side, one of the themes of this season, and maybe the issues that you had was pulling out was being on the losing end of 1-score games. Can you pinpoint what kind of flipped there? Because you were 6-1 last year and 0-6 this year, and that has to. I mean, I'm just not sure what that points to.
Well, I think it points to you got to take each one of those games separately, John, and look at where we were at the end of the game, right? And without being too specific here, just say, hey, why didn't we get the result we were looking for? Did we have a chance to win the game at the end of the game? And what side of the ball was that? So you just look at it. That's why you can't group them all together, right? But at the end of the day, you want to make sure you have your detail and which leads to great execution at the critical moments of those games. And so I thought we got better through the season with that as we went, and then we had a chance this past weekend, and we weren't as detailed and we didn't execute as well as we needed to.
Thanks, Sean. I hope you get a chance to enjoy your off season.
Thanks, John. Same to you.
Hey, Sean, Adam Benigni.
Hi, Adam.
Hi. When we talked the other night, you didn't want to get into detail, and after, especially right on the heels of such an emotional game like that, I think most of us get that. But now, a couple of days removed from it, and this is a big question, for those who follow this team in the league. Can you talk specifically about the decision to kick away there with 13 seconds left?
Yeah, I'm still not going to get into the specifics on it, Adam. Again, it comes down to execution. We didn't execute, and so I hope you can appreciate where I'm coming from on that. That's really where I was after the game. That's where I am now. And as I said earlier, disappointing, Adam, because we pride ourselves in detail. We pride ourselves in execution, and being great in situational football. And we practice that tirelessly here. I mean, nonstop. As you're aware, you see our practices. You know how detailed we try and be, and meticulous with our preparation, and so it's disappointing overall to get that result, but it's even more disappointing knowing that we prepare and practice those situations a ton here in Buffalo, and it's where I come back to. You got to face it, and we're not going to run from it, Adam. And I believe in that. I believe in that approach. We all have to face it and then learn from it. And I believe that we're heading in the right direction as an organization, and I believe we will definitely accomplish our goal, the ultimate goal we have, and that'll be a part of the reason why, as long as we face it. And that's what we need to do right now.
Can I assume that answer applies to how the team played defense on that last drive in regulation too?
Yes.
Okay, so I won't follow up on that, but I will just ask you lastly this then. Was it a miscommunication internally within the staff, or was it a clear decision? We are kicking away. We're going to go with a touchback here.
Yeah, and I'm not going to get into the specifics and the details on that. Again, I appreciate and respect where you're coming from. I hope you can appreciate and respect where I'm coming from. I'm not going to get into the weeds on that. I'm just going to leave it at the execution piece.
Okay, Sean. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean. In terms of the execution, going back and watching the last 13 seconds, you guys called timeout before both defensive plays. Did you feel like the players had a good idea of what you needed them to do on those two plays, especially since you did call the timeouts?
Yeah, I like the fact that we had those timeouts. I think when you have timeouts towards the end of the half, into the game, you're doing something right operationally there, and that's where we're usually pretty good. We're not playing sloppy football and burning excess timeouts. So we had those, and I let them line up the first play to see formationally, burn the timeout, the first one. There were some conversations that took place on the sideline. That first play, with number 10 in particular, he's so fast getting down the field. So you've got to be smart with that, balancing that a little bit with also challenging the yardage that they needed for the field goal. And then the second play, let him line up again. So I could give us the information we needed. And at least by looking at their formation and how they're going to attack us there, and use that second timeout or last timeout that we had. And so, listen, at the end of the day, obviously we didn't get the job done there.
You mentioned liking where things are at with what you guys have accomplished. And you're onto something, I think, because the early 90s Bills, they had a similar arc. It's happened before where you take painful losses and move forward. But with the way that you guys built this thing in the offseason to prepare for this Chiefs team specifically, does it feel like a bit of a tough pill? It's obviously a tough pill to swallow, but to have it end against this team again with the way you prepared things, what does that say as you sit here today going into another offseason?
Yeah, certainly disappointed, Matt. No doubt about it. But just one off season doesn't necessarily, can expect that to change it like that. So, they've been at it. Andy's been at it there with the Chiefs for a number of years. Their roster has been being built for a number of years. So, we've got to continue to do it. We've got to continue to stay hungry and work our tails off and prepare and handle things the right way. And I'm confident in who we are and in the direction of this organization and the people that we have, that we'll eventually get to where we're trying to get to. So that's what winners do. And this is a winning organization.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, it's Sal. Thanks for joining us today.
Sure.
So, fans obviously very disappointed. They can go on with their lives. This isn't what they do every day for a living. This is your livelihood. They'll recover, go to their jobs, things like that. How do you as a professional have to compartmentalize to do that? I asked Harrison Phillips kind of the same question yesterday, and he said, these are the kinds of things that, because it is your livelihood, like people, they could go into a really bad place, mentally, depression, things like that. You have to be able to, pick yourself up. So how do you do that? And how do you send that message to your players to do that?
Well, that's part of the job. That's part of what we sign up for. And whether you're on the field as a player, coach, the closer you are to it, the more things like this come up. And even, the highest of the highs, a week before, we have a chance to play a division rival here, and we have that, but you also have to handle that the right way also. So I think there's a mental component that comes with the job, that you've got to be able to stay consistent and mentally tough, to be quite honest with you on that. But this is what we're cut out for. This is what we do, and this will be part of the story. And you've got to use this as strength to move you forward and to drive you even harder towards the goal that we have. And I'm not being shy about that. I'm not beating around the bush. It's the truth. And there's a lot of people that have been through, a lot of teams that have been through moments like this, and eventually they come out on the other end because they're not, they don't cower from it or because of it. They help it to make them stronger and drive them harder towards the goal.
Thanks. Can you just tell us what the next couple of days or weeks will be like as far as exit interviews, coaches, evaluation, like what is on your plate and what you have to do?
Yeah, so we just finished with the players yesterday and their exit meetings and physicals and whatnot. And then I'm meeting with you, obviously, almost first thing this morning. And Brandon and I will continue to talk through the day and evaluate our team and move on from there.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, Josh Reed here. My question is about the overtime. You have 3 timeouts there. The Chiefs had obviously gotten things going and they're moving the ball. At any point, did you think about maybe taking one of those timeouts just to kind of give the defense a little bit of a chance to catch their breath, especially coming off of what happened the last 13 seconds and the ball was kind of rolling downhill against them there?
Yeah, sure did, Josh. And we talked about that. And, I thought about it in my mind, and, you just go back and forth on that and go back and forth on how critical timeouts are as well. And so, yeah, definitely thought about that.
My one last question for you. Tre'Davious White, obviously, sure would have been nice to have him, I'm sure, out there. Have you talked to him at all? What's kind of an update there on his rehab and everything? And, sure, fingers crossed, what's maybe the timeline of hopes into getting him back next season, like timeline-wise?
Yeah, I see him every day, just about, Josh. He's in the building working his tail off with our training staff, and as is Zimmer in here as well. And Justin's done a great job. And so those two are working their butts off to get back. And I just love watching them. I hate seeing them in that position, but their determination, their guts, their grit, man, is on display every day. And it's not an easy process, the pain they're going through to get back. So I just really appreciate them and the sacrifices they've made.
Any timeline though, or that you can give us as far as the hopes of? No. Okay.
No, nothing. No, I mean, it looks like both from what I'm hearing are on schedule, and as is Ike Butker as well.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Sean. Thanks for everything this season. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
Okay, Sean, thanks again for your patience all season long. We appreciate it. So, just since this is our last time here last day to go over this, the strategy on first down with 13 seconds left? Obviously, if you try to execute everyone putting hands on receivers to take a 5-yard penalty, if someone fails to get hands on Tyreek Hill, that potentially is a problem too. So was that part of was that thought about or discussed?
It was thought about. I can promise you that, and there's give and take to everything, obviously, everything in this job, there's things that are questioned, especially when you don't get the result you're looking for. But yeah, there's there's certainly something that we could have done right there, Mark. To your point on, you asked me that after the game about taking a 5-yard penalty. So I don't disagree with that thought, at least as being one of the options.
And then bigger picture. At a couple points in midseason, after Jacksonville, after Indianapolis, you expressed, hey, look, we can't live being utterly one-dimensional. We need the running game to be a piece of the puzzle. Was there a point maybe like the Thanksgiving Day game, you run it 32 times, the Tampa game, it really started to kick in. Was there a point where you and Brian said, damn it, we're committing to this come hell or high water, and what do you think about the way you got results sticking with it?
Yeah. Again, not going to get into the details on it, Mark. You've heard my message all season long about the healthiness of an offense and being the threat of being two-dimensional. And I firmly believe in that. You saw the results, to your point, of when we were really rolling. We had a good, I don't want to say balance, I don't like using that word, but a good ebb and flow, right, of just the run and pass and the action game and some of those things as well. And so I think that, that helps the offensive line when you can do both. It helps certainly Josh. When I say helps the offensive line, it's a lot easier to rush the passer when you know where to find the quarterback, right? And so when you can make yourself a two-dimensional threat, it seems to slow people down. And I think that's when offenses are at their best, when they can do that.
And then lastly for me, just, obviously pass rush getting more and defensive line depth was a huge point of emphasis going into the season. Just what encourages you about what you saw from the pass rush and the depth on the defensive line?
Yeah, all season long, we had some depth that we could pull from, which was important. That's a position that tends to get banged up, very similar to the skill positions in a different way, albeit. But that being said, it was nice to have some of the depth. What we've really got to do is develop some of those young players so that we can continue to affect the quarterback, and that'll be a goal of ours and continue to be a goal. It's just the game is the importance of how well you play up front on both sides of the ball is critical to your team's success.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Coach, you already mentioned how the Chiefs have been the measuring stick. I know your defense prides itself on being sound fundamentally, but the elite speed of the Chiefs offense seems to compromise even the best fundamentally sound teams. I know evaluations are just beginning, but how much do you need to prioritize matching that speed with new additions you might have to make defensively this offseason?
Well, I think that's a valid point, Chris. And, that team speed is unique with obviously Tyreek Hill and 17 and 13. I mean, they've got a lot of guys that can fly, and it does impact the game. It impacts strategy, and it impacts game planning. And then on the field, as you saw, it impacts the result, right? And so it's unique, the speed that they have. So, and again, giving them credit, they've done a lot of things well. They've had quite some time to build that up, and so credit goes to them. We're going to continue to build this as well, and we're going to continue to address areas of need, and I think not just this year, but evolving with how the game continues to evolve. That we have to continue to evolve with it and try and be out in front of it all the time. So that's that's what we have to do. One of the areas, that we have to continue to look at, matching team speed on both sides of the ball.
Thanks, Coach.
Sure.
Hey, Sean. It's increasingly rare for teams to go year after year to have as much camaraderie with their starting lineup as you guys did, with basically bringing back the whole band for a 2-year roster. Does this almost make it more difficult to swallow the way you guys went out?
No, it's always hard, Joe. When you compete like we do, right? You saw us compete the other night, I believe. Those guys competed their tails off, man. We as coaches competed like crazy. I mean, we obviously didn't get the result we were looking for. Every year is a new year, right? And so whether you have a ton of guys back or you don't have, every team's a new team. Even when you have players back, that does not necessarily mean that you're guaranteed a certain level of success. There's challenges that come with that also when you have everyone back. And I think we did a heck of a job of steering through that this year through the course of the season. I'm super proud of the way the guys fought through that, learned a lot through it. And because a lot of teams would go like this, and we rose to the occasion. We fought through that and got to where we got to. So super proud of the way the guys handled that.
And for you personally, I know when you first got into the head coaching chair, you valued experience in terms of coordinators, all the coaches you put around you. Are you at the point now to where you're willing, as some of your coordinators might graduate to head coaching positions, are you at the point now where you're willing to give some of your younger staff more of a chance, the way that other coaches took a chance on you and some of your colleagues around the league?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you want to be able to promote from within. Just like in any business, that's where you get your return on investment. That's where you try and foster morale and camaraderie again, and just continue to invest in the people we have in our building. And there's two sides to that, right? So they've got to show that they have what it takes and they're putting in the time, and then you'd love to be able to do that in every situation. So we try and do that as much as we can.
Do you feel like you have the potential on your staff right now for doing that?
I think generally speaking, we do. Yeah, I've been very pleased with our staff, and we've got a good group.
All right, thanks, Sean. Have a good offseason.
Hey, Sean. First, I was curious. Obviously, you mentioned the guys who are on IR, but are there any injuries coming off the game or surgeries that are happening after the season that you can share?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into all that right now, Lane. I mean, we've got some guys that are typically, every year you come into the off season, typically you have a group of guys that are going to get off season surgeries. At this point, I can tell you, I don't think any of them will be, of the major category, other than the ones we have with Trey and Justin and Ike that have already gone through their surgeries. So I think we're in fairly good shape as much as I can tell you right now.
And then this is a larger scale question, I guess, but Josh and Dawson made a point of mentioning to us yesterday that, and it's come up a lot this season, the second half of that Tampa game, how that really, especially on the offensive side, got things going, and how they really felt like they went from there, the energy was up, all that sort of stuff. How do you, looking at the season as a whole now, get that started sooner? Like, why did it take until the second half of the Tampa game for that group to really get going? Or what kind of spurred that you can learn from next year?
Well, as I said before, in Joe's situation, Joe talked about the continuity that we had. I think sometimes that's good, and sometimes there's things that come up through that continuity that work against you. And so, super proud of the way that we figured that out. A lot of teams aren't able to do that, and their season ends, at the end of the regular season. So it takes leadership. It takes sometimes tough conversations, and it takes the truth. And I'm super proud of the way that as a team, not just the offense as well, but as a team, defense included and special teams, we were able to figure that piece out and get us to where we got to.
And then one last one for me, and I know you've talked a lot about the 13 seconds, overtime, all of that, but how many times do you watch that end of game back? Like, how many times do you let yourself go over that? And obviously it was that end of game with the scoring back and forth. It was, a historic thing. It's never happened quite like that. What can you learn from that overall as a coach?
where do you want to start? I mean, I watched it on video, and I watched it over and over in my head a million times, and in my stomach a million more. That's what we do. As was mentioned earlier, it's my livelihood, and I'm super competitive as well, and I want the best for our football team, this organization, and our fans, quite honestly. So I'll continue to watch it in my mind and in my gut for years, and it's something that I'm going to. But when we get to where we're trying to get to, I believe that'll make it that much more enjoyable in that moment.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Sean, hey, it's Thad Brown. You hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you, Thad. Go ahead.
I certainly understand respect what you talk about with the way that you guys went toe-to-toe with the two-time champs, and that the way you played the Chiefs this year was better than last year. But is there a concern going into the offseason with the mantra being, we're fine, things we're doing are okay, when that direction is yet to get you where you want to go?
Yeah, and I'm not trying to give off that impression we're fine. That's not it at all. And I think me, Thad. Like, I'm not one to sit around and use that as, hey, we're fine. Are we going in the right direction? I believe we are. And I think that's important. We have momentum, and we have movement. We have improvement. Who knows where, the Kansas City, Cincinnati game will go. So at the end of the day, we're trying to get to and play in and win the world championship, just like every team in the league is. But I'm not giving off. I make sure I'm not giving off this impression of we're fine. No, that's not it. If you saw that plane ride on the way home, you would not come away with the impression that we're fine. I think everyone is set and of the single-minded focus to improve, starting with me, and committed to accomplishing one goal. And now, we're going to be human here and try and get a little bit of rest from this long haul of the season that we were just in, and get back on it. And so that's, that'll be led by Brandon and myself, and trying to get us to where we're trying to go as quickly as we can. And we're going to work tirelessly to do that, go about it the right way, and again, continue to try and develop and improve what we're doing here.
And then a totally separate topic. Have you had any conversations with Brian or Leslie about the availability of your other assistants on your staff, should they get a head coaching job somewhere else, and whether or not they would be able to hire any of those guys?
Yeah, we've had conversations. I'm not going to get into the detail on those conversations, but yes, we've had conversations.
All right, Sean, I'd like to echo what everybody else said. Thanks very much for your time all year, and especially today.
All right, thanks, Thad. You too.
Hey, Sean, it's Kim Jones. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I got you, Kim.
Thanks. I have two. The second one's a short one, I promise. In an NFL world where this offseason is probably going to include a lot of quarterback movings and trades perhaps and everything else, how much peace of mind do you have that you have your quarterback for the foreseeable future and that you happen to love the guy?
Yeah, I do love the guy, Kim. I'll start there. And, as I said earlier, there was a question about Josh earlier, Kim. I'm not sure if you heard it, but just about the questions maybe. And now he's answered all those questions, right? So, and I'm extremely proud of what he's been able to do this past season, and just his growth over the years. And just because you have the guy on one hand doesn't mean that you're going to get there, right? But having that guy is hard to find, right? There's a lot of GMs, a lot of teams that search high and low for that, quote unquote, that guy. And, I believe without a shadow of a doubt, we have that player and that person. So that's good to know. And now we have to continue to move strategically around him to further our team moving forward.
In a letter of the law postseason where Tom Brady was called for unsportsmanlike conduct for an exchange with the referee. Should Tyreek Hill have been flagged for taunting with that peace sign?
I'm not gonna get into it, Kim. I appreciate you asking that. You're very observant, but I'm not going any further.
Okay. I appreciate you, Sean, very, very much all season. Thank you so much.
Likewise. Yeah, thanks, Kim.
Hi, Sean. It's Jay with the Buffalo News. Thanks for your time today. The guys on defense, understandably, were really proud of where they finished. Number one, yards allowed, number one against points. But given the way that this season ended, you go back to maybe the Tampa game and then the Chiefs game against elite quarterbacks. Do you feel like the perception of that defense is going to be altered, maybe a great deal, by their performance in those games against the elite quarterbacks in this league?
Yeah, I don't, I can't handle, I don't control perception, and neither do they, Jay. And I think the important piece is that we see, the season that they had and the contributions that they made to helping us get to where we got to. They were very consistent. If you track it all season long, from the start of the season through up until the end, until that last game. And I agree with you in the direction you're trying to go on that. Is we didn't play well enough defensively in the last game, and so all of that falls on me, and that's an area we have to assess with a very critical eye for our off season as we move forward and try and improve as a team.
Okay, and then lastly for me, last year when we spoke to you at this time and to Brandon as well, there was a very clear theme in terms of the priority in free agency was to keep as many of your guys together as you could. You were able to do that when you think about Matt and Daryl and the guys that you brought back. Do you believe that was the right direction for the organization? And will that again be the plan heading into this offseason to keep as many of your guys together? Or do you look at the results, both in the regular season and where you made it to in the playoffs and say, we may need to look outside the organization to take this roster to the next level?
Well, I think I don't think you can say, based on this individual, you just have to look at it all. You can't say just generally speaking, hey, we're just going to do this, right? And we just have to beat this team. I don't think that's a healthy approach. I think you got to take a step back, reset, and really be calculated about our next moves, right? And to say this is the only way to do it, I think is nearsighted and not really taking a holistic view on how to get this done. It's not easy. And I think the best way to go about it is to be strategic, take our time, and review each situation on its own, right? Because every individual situation is different. As you're talking about each player and continuity, and then looking inside versus looking outside. We're going to look at everything to improve our football team, inside and outside. And that's what you have to do. Even if we were to have accomplished our goal of winning the world championship this year, you need to do it the same way. And so, just bringing back your own players or just looking outside, I don't think is the best way to approach any season, and especially after this season and where we're trying to go as a team moving forward.
Thanks, Sean. I really appreciate your time all season, and get some rest.
All right. Thanks, Jay. You too.
Thanks.
That'll be all for today. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Kaylee.